Is it as simple as cleaning up the turnovers against Indiana?
I don't think it's that simple. You're going to have some similarities in a game. You played the first time, then you're going to have some differences too. Like, you not always are going to have the same game. I think in the previous game, if you didn't turn the ball over and you made your free throws, you'd have put yourself in a much better position. So anytime we have to live in defensive transition, and that's a high volume of possessions, where we've been in trouble. It just hasn't happened a lot. But when it's happened, we've been able to recover in some halves going into the next half, or vice versa, kind of hold on. But in this scenario, it wasn't. Like, we actually got back into their lead pretty quickly. If you rewatch the game and you see it, we just never could get it to where we got the lead. We got it back to 1 and 2 possessions. I mean, that was at 11-minute mark. We put ourselves in a good spot at that time, but it took a lot for us to get back in there. So if the game unfolds the same way, making our free throws and taking care of the basketball, is going to be huge. Taking care of the basketball is huge in making your free throws in any game, but especially in that game, they just did such a good job of taking our turnovers and turning them into points.
Used Caleb a little bit on Jackson Davis in the second half. Is that something that you could see more of early on Saturday?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think everybody will guard him the way they do things and the way he runs out on the break so well. He's so fast that, you got to pick him up and not let him get that run out dunk or layup at that time. So I think everybody, will have a chance at him and be able to guard him. But that's a team deal. When you have a player as great as Trace Jackson Davis, that's your whole team approach. Being able to stop him, but not at the expense of other people just getting wide open looks. Like, if you overdo it, he'll make you pay with his passing. If you don't do enough, he'll steamroll you like he did in the first half against us.
How pivotal is it? A better start, especially with the home crowd, really getting them behind you.
Yeah, just taking care of the basketball. I think that was for us, really the start, and that's what happened the previous year too in that first half. And it was Groundhog's Day. The same thing happened. They were able to come out and do the same thing. We really worked towards that at their place, and obviously it's a different atmosphere, but it's still basketball. It's still 10 guys. You're still out on the court. You got to be ready to not necessarily, you can't talk your way into making shots, but you can talk your way into your execution and your understanding what's going on. We have to know what's going on at all times defensively, and then we have to be able to handle their pressure and execute.
Do you stick with Mason in the starting lineup?
We'll see. We'll see there. Both of those guys have been really good for us. Mason's been a little bit better offensively, and Caleb's been a little bit better defensively. But when you look at their overall production across the board, when one's in versus the other, we're efficient with both of them.
Right.
Yeah, we're, like I said, just one's a little better in the other area, but it doesn't mean the other one's defunct in the other area. They're both still pretty solid.
Right.
Matt, when you're in the competitive weeds of this, so you're trying to build a game plan, you're trying to win. Can you take yourself out of that and look at this from the standpoint of Zach and Trace being great centers, two of the best centers in the country, and not only that, but the contrast of how they go about their excellence. I think we're about the same age. I mean,
right.
Think back to the center pairings like Moses. These aren't exact comps, but like say Moses Malone against Dan Issel, two guys who are totally different but both really good.
Right.
Can you step out of the shoes of the competitive part of it and appreciate the?
No question. One of them's in their 4th year of college, the other one's in their 3rd year of college. So you just don't see the dominant guys stay in college as long as they have. But I think it's great for the game. I think it's great for our conference. Zach has just, enormous size, and where he's improved just as a basketball player, being able to pass, being able to play post D, being able to play ball screen defense. But you also got to understand he's in his 6th year of organized basketball. So he's really on the come when it comes to things of that nature. He's really made some real strides in that area. Trace has had to, play for 2 different coaches, 2 different systems, so you're learning, right? Everybody learns when they come to college, and then when you have a change sometimes, it takes a little bit of time right there, but they've done a really good job in the last 2 years of getting him the basketball, and, his numbers speak for themselves. We just don't face somebody with that kind of size, that kind of skill, and that kind of quickness. You're not supposed to, when you're Zach's size, you're not supposed to be able to do some of the things he does. And when you're Trace Jackson's Davis size, you're not supposed to be able to do some of the things he does. They're different skill sets and different athleticism and different overall size, but it really puts the defense in a bind. That's why I said to Mike earlier, like, we don't have a matchup here where it's one guy on Trace Jackson Davis, and they don't have a matchup where it's one guy on Zach Edey. It's just, that's not the way this game's going to unfold. It's going to be Indiana's defense trying to stop Purdue's offense and vice versa. It's not us trying to just stop Trace Jackson Davis. It's our team trying to stop Trace Jackson Davis. If you do it, there's been a couple people in our league that tried to do it by themselves, and that did not work. No, it did not work, and it won't work. So you got to throw different things at him, and you got to mix things up, and he's still going to get some things. You just don't want him to get 35 or 20.
You're in a position where if you take care of business, you're going to win the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess how do you make sure that that's not on their minds? It's just take care of business, and then that will come with it.
Right. Yeah. You know, you keep your focus on doing your job. You know, you keep your focus on doing what you're supposed to be doing and competing at a high level. But you also have worked really hard to put yourself in this position. Like, this wasn't handed to us. Like, we've worked really hard. So, you know, reward yourself, but also don't try to hit home runs. You know, be solid, take care of the basketball. You know, just keep hitting singles and doing the little things.
What do you feel you got accomplished in this week with no game from Sunday to Saturday?
Yeah, just more of a focus on ourselves and a focus on Indiana. You know, probably a 50-50 split there. You want to get a lot of shooting in. We took two of those days off. Tried to get your legs under you. I think it's hard for everybody at this time of the year because everybody just depends on the grind of your schedule. This is where we've gotten a little bit of a break, but it doesn't mean anything unless you play well at 7:30 on Saturday. But just having a focus on the mistakes we made. There are some plays that Indiana made at their place where we just had a total breakdown. Then there are some times where we were doing what we were supposed to be doing, and their offense was better than our defense.
Man, I'm sure these guys have had a chance to ask this. I haven't, but with the success that you guys have had this year, and with the success that Zach has had this year, how does he handle that from a leadership point? He's kind of been thrust into that by his production. How does he handle that in the locker room? How's he kind of embraced that?
No, he's great. He's not someone who overtalks things, and he stays with it. He's very process-based, very regimented in what he does, like pre and post practice, and doing his work and putting that time in. I think that really kind of makes him feel comfortable when he can get to where he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, like in his drill work. But no, he's pretty easy going. Like, he's not someone who's, he'll get mad every now and then when he gets fouled too much in practice. But besides that, so I'm the ref in practice, so I enjoy him yelling at me. So.
Part of the second half comeback for you guys was bench production. David hit 2 threes. Newman hit a 3 in between there to come back. How do you get your bench to score a bunch of points?
Well, I think it's also opportunistic. Like, they got opportunities because they're doubling, and we made good passes and moved the ball. And one of David's threes was like a clinic on how to handle it. And it was also a clinic on Indiana's defense. Like, they made about 4 or 5 plays, but we just kept making them make the next play. And then David ended up being open at the very end. I think he fed the post twice on the same play, and it was at the end of it. So just trying to, get in there and do your job more than anything on the defensive end. And then when you do that and you rebound and you defend, you just kind of organically, do good things offensively. Like, when you're not ready or you're not hooked up, now it's going to affect the other end of the court. Like, just do your job, be ready to roll, and just take what the defense gives you. So it's not really, the onus really isn't on them coming off the bench, as much as it is the team doing the right things, and then they're going to get more opportunities. And things always look better when the ball goes in.
You guys all year have lived with forcing tough twos, but
Yep.
Jalen Pitchevino's a player that can really come off ball screens and
Right.
make tough shots in the mid-range. Just are there any adjustments in terms of putting more pressure on him and giving him those opportunities?
Yeah, just not, anytime you get a guy like that, he's a shot maker, he can distribute, got a really good pull-up game. You just try to be into him and not let him get to their sweet spots as much as possible. And I think that's easier said than done with really good players. But he's a good talent, man. He's done some really good things in his first year, and he's a real tough cover.